Hey, it's NPR's Book of the Day. I'm Andrew Limbong. Deborah Willis's photography book, Reflections in Black, A History of Black Photographers, 1840 to the Present, is a pretty seminal text. It came out back in 2000, and up until then, Black photographers weren't really getting their due in the history books. And Willis, a photographer, curator, and historian, had something to say about that. The book is now being re-released at a time when photography, as a whole, has really changed. NPR's Michel Martin spoke with Willis about why she started the project in the first place and what it still has to teach us today. That's coming up.
This message comes from BetterHelp. As a dad, BetterHelp President Fernando Madera relates to needing flexibility when it comes to scheduling therapy.
I have kids under 18, so time is very limited. That's why at BetterHelp, our therapists try to have sessions, sometimes at night, depending on the therapist, or during the weekend. So I think that's what we need to tell the parents. You're not alone. We can help you out.
If a flexible schedule would help you, visit BetterHelp.com/NPR for 10% off your first month of online therapy.
For decades, Deborah Willis has been one of the country's foremost authorities on Black photography. The MacArthur Genius Award winner has dedicated her career to unearthing, cataloging, and showcasing Black photographers and photographic images of Black people. This November, her seminal publication, Reflections in Black, A History of Black Photographers, 1840 to the Present, has been reissued after a quarter century with 130 new images and a gallery show inspired by the book. I dropped by the busy hallways at the Tisch School of the Arts at New York University, where she leads the photo department, to see the show and hear about some of her favorite images.
This is Michelle Obama in the Bronx, hugging someone in the community there, just giving support for veterans, military veterans. So that's part of it.
Interesting. Michelle Obama has been so photographed. I was curious why this is the image that appealed to you.
The hug.
Oh, the hug. Okay.
The embrace. And I find that this is fascinating. Her eyes are closed, so you feel the sense of connection, the way that she's holding on to this older veteran. Not her face, just her gesture was something that I felt was really important in that way.
It's interesting how often the American flag features in these photographers' work.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's because they're asking questions about,
what's the relationship?
Right, what's the relationship
between us and
right. But
this.
Also about, believing in their citizenship and their rights.
To learn more about her in the book, we moved to a slightly quieter space where I asked her how her interest in photography began.
I grew up in Philadelphia, in North Philly. My mom had a beauty shop. My mom had, as I used to call it, the black color wheel of magazines, Ebony, Jet, Tan, but also they had Life, Look, and National Geographic. So I was always looking at images as a child. My father was a amateur photographer, serious amateur. My father was also a policeman, and he also had a tailor shop. So fashion and dress fascinated me.
Is it true that this book actually started as a research project for an undergrad paper?
Yes. There were no Black photographers in the history books. I said, where are the Black photographers? And I knew there was the Black Photographers Annual books that were circulating in New York and around the number of Black photographers.
But also Ebony Jet, as
Ebony
the
Jet.
magazines that you mentioned,
Exactly.
Iconic in the Black community. You could not go into a barbershop, beauty salon, any Black commercial space
Right.
without seeing these magazines. Mm-hmm. Somebody was taking those pictures.
And I knew it. And I just started reading Black directories, city directories, and because of segregation in the 19th century, I was able to identify with the asterisk that said colored photographers. I was able, with all of the names that I compiled with my undergraduate paper, I was able to find the images that were at the Schomburg and categorize them and create portfolios for each photographer.
How did it become this monumental project?
There's, I called him my publishing angel. His name was Richard Newman. And he said, how would you like to do a book on Black photographers? So I said, well, I have this and that. And he said, well, send it to me. And he read it, and he said, let's put this together and find the photographs to add to it. And that's how it started.
Even before photography was accessible to everybody, which it is now, you have a camera in your phone. Frederick Douglass was, I think he was one of the most photographed people
That's what
of
we found.
his era.
Yes.
What do you think he understood about the importance of being photographed?
I believe, in reading his words, that photography was biography. He was really concerned about the images of Black people that degraded Black people, and he wanted the images to see his self-portraits that was in collaboration with the photographer, that also is about humanity in terms of making sure that they were human and seeing that.
And also, it's interesting, but there are also, famous photographs not taken by Black people, but taken for other purposes that show just the intensity of the degradation of the slavery experience. I'm thinking about this famous image of an enslaved man whose back is just crisscrossed with scars from being whipped. And I just wonder, when you see an image like that, what do you see? Or how do you experience it?
I think it's the evidence of a lived experience and a horrific lived experience. And these human property images were on display to degrade Black people. They were also placed in world fairs. And that's why when I heard about years ago that W.B. Du Bois organized an exhibition at the 1900 Paris Exposition, I went to the Library of Congress looking at this, it didn't exist. And then 20 years later, someone who worked in the Library of Congress, who was cataloging photographs, a young Black man found the box of images, and I was able to have access to those images.
Wow.
And
After being told they didn't exist.
They didn't exist because they weren't processed. And Du Bois also knew the importance of photography, and he always asked, why aren't more Black men studying photography?
Also, too, I'm thinking about a magazine like Ebony or Tan. There have been others, too, which existed to show that Black people lived luxurious lives as well, that it wasn't just a life of, toil. But, remember the celebrities, it was a big deal to see them with their furs, their cars, their houses.
Right. It was important that photographers were there to document not only the activism, but also not only the mourning, but the beauty of Black life.
How did you think about this reframed edition?
When I started thinking about this book, how do I retell the story? How do we reinvent it? Creating new narratives about their lives, or imagine narratives like Amiri Baraka says, the imagination gives us possibilities. And so that's something that I was considering in looking at these photographs.
Professor Deborah Willis is the author of Reflections in Black, A History of Black Photographers, 1840 to the Present. Its gallery show, Reflections in Black, A Reframing, is on display at NYU's Tisch School of the Arts until December 21st. Professor Willis, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, Andrew here, the host of NPR's Book of the Day podcast. And yeah, I love new books, but there's just something about rereading an old favorite. On our new limited series, Books We've Loved, we're revisiting some classics, from Pride and Prejudice to Dune to everything in between, and talking about why they're worth reading today. Listen to NPR's Books We've Loved right on this podcast feed every Saturday on the NPR app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Support for NPR and the following message come from Warby Parker, the one-stop shop for all your vision needs. They offer expertly crafted prescription eyewear, plus contacts, eye exams, and more. For everything you need to see, visit your nearest Warby Parker store or head to warbyparker.com. This message comes from Schwab. At Schwab, how you invest is your choice, not theirs. That's why when it comes to managing your wealth, Schwab gives you more choices. You can invest and trade on your own. Plus, get advice and more comprehensive wealth solutions to help meet your unique needs. With award-winning service, low costs, and transparent advice, you can manage your wealth your way at Schwab. Visit schwab.com to learn more.
This message comes from Mint Mobile. Starting at $15 a month, make the switch at mintmobile.com/switch. $45 upfront payment for 3 months. 5 gigabyte plan equivalent to $15 a month. Taxes and fees extra. First 3 months only. See terms.